Hello everyone. Today is the second session on occipito-posterior position of the vertex. In the previous first session on this same topic, we talked about its definition, etiology and diagnosis. Today we'll talk about its mechanism. We start with the first movement, that is engagement. In occipito-posterior position of vertex, head engages in oblique diameter of the pelvis. In the ROP position, that is right occipito-posterior, just like in LOA, that is left occipito-anterior, engagement occurs in the right oblique diameter. And in the LOP position, that is left occipito-posterior, just like in ROA position, right occipito-anterior, engagement occurs in left oblique diameter of the pelvis. That means in the ROP and LOA positions, engagement occurs in the same oblique diameter, that is right one. And in the LOP and ROA, engagement occurs in the same oblique diameter, that is left one. Engaging transverse diameter is biparietal. Its length is 9.5 centimeter. Engaging antero-posterior diameter is suboccipito-frontal. Its length is 10 cm or it may be occipito-frontal, that is 11.5 cm long. Now, whether the engaging diameter is suboccipito-frontal or occipito-frontal, that depends on the deflection of the head, right? Depends on the deflection of the head, up to what extent the head is deflexed or if it is extended, that will determine the engaging diameter, whether it is suboccipito-frontal or occipito-frontal. Engagement in the occipito-posterior position is delayed due to deflection of the fetal head. Because the fetal head does not flex completely, because you find deflection in the fetal head, engagement of the fetal head does not occur in time. It is delayed. Second movement is descent. It occurs until the head reaches the pelvic floor from the pelvic brim. Now you know that engagement of the fetal head occurs at the level of pelvic brim. So after the engagement, due to the descent from the pelvic brim, the head reaches the pelvic floor. So descent continues till the head reaches the pelvic floor. Descent may occur with or without complete flexion of the fetal head, right? Along with the descent, there may be complete flexion of the fetal head or there may not be. So it may not occur completely. Good uterine contractions will cause good flexion of the fetal head. So if contractions are good, it is in favor of the fetal head flexion. So complete flexion occurs if uterine contractions are good, they are strong enough. Third movement is internal rotation. With complete flexion, there are two possibilities in the internal rotation, with the complete flexion and with the incomplete flexion. So we first see what happens with the complete flexion. With complete flexion, long internal rotation of the occiput occurs anteriorly by 3/8 of a circle to lie under the pubic arch. We have discussed mechanism of the normal labor, that is occipito-anterior position, either LOA or ROA. So now you know that to lie under the pubic arch, occiput in the normal labor in the anterior positions rotates through 1/8 of the circle, whereas here when the flexion is complete, occiput needs to rotate through 3/8 of the circle rotation. So there is a long internal rotation so that the occiput can lie under the pubic arch. This diagram is for the different quadrants of the pelvis. Anterior ones are the LOA and ROA. Posterior ones are ROP and LOP. Further, this diagram can make your understanding about internal rotation in the occipito-posterior position more clear. For an example, we have taken the position ROP I have labeled the black dot in the ROP quadrant, right occipital posterior, as the occiput. You can see the occiput. I have also arrowed the 3/8 of circle rotation, that is internal rotation. After 3/8 of circle rotation of the occiput reaches under symphysis pubis. So that also I have put as a black dot and labeled as the occiput, right? So this diagram can make your understanding about the long internal rotation more clear. I hope you easily understand. These occurs in 90% cases. That means complete flexion occurs in 90% cases. With this internal rotation of the occiput by 3/8 of the circle rotation, there occurs torsion of a neck in a greater degree than that occurs in LOA or ROA. You must have remembered that in the LOA or ROA position, in the anterior position, because of the 1/8 of circle rotation of the occiput, one twist arises in the fetal neck. So that twist was only due to 1/8 of circle rotation. But here, in place of 1/8 of circle rotation, occiput is rotating through 3/8 of a circle. It's a long rotation. So because of that, there is a big torsion of the neck. A big twist arises in the fetal neck. As fetal neck cannot sustain such amount of the twist, such a great twist, the shoulders rotate through a right angle by 2/8 of the circle. So to relieve this 3/8 of the circle twist, the greater twist, or you can say the greater torsion, the shoulders rotate through 2/8 of the circle. Let's see what happens here. You can see both these diagrams. Earlier shows the location of the occiput in the ROP position. When occiput is lying in the right posterior quadrant, you can see the position of the shoulders that you can imagine. One shoulder is in the right anterior quadrant and the other shoulder is in the left posterior quadrant, that you can see towards your left side diagram. Now you see the diagram of your right side. What happens? When the occiput rotates through 3/8 of the circle, I have arrowed long 3/8 of the circle rotation of the occiput so that you can see. So after this rotation, occiput reaches symphysis pubis, right? To relieve the twist in the fetal neck, shoulders rotate through 2/8 of the circle. So from the right anterior quadrant, the shoulder will shift to the left anterior quadrant, and from the left posterior quadrant, the shoulders will shift to the right posterior quadrant because of the 2/8 of circle rotation. I hope you can understand this. I am not very good at making diagrams, so please bear with me. My purpose is just to make your understanding easy, and I hope I am successful in my purpose. So you can compare both these diagrams and you can imagine exactly what is happening in this internal rotation, right? So considering you have understood this perfectly, I am going further. After 2/8 of a circle rotation of shoulders, now there remains 1/8 of a circle twist of a neck, which is similar to that occurring in the LOA or ROA. Please again find this correction, it is ROA. I forgot to type A. So you will find now 1/8 of circle rotation twist, just like you find in the LOA or ROA after the internal rotation. You can see here towards the right sided diagram. After the 1/8 of circle rotation in the anterior position, occiput lies in the pubic arch. Right? Same thing happens here. After 3/8 of circle rotation of the occiput and 2/8 of circle rotation of the shoulders, now the position, the situation is just like in anterior positions, right? So the rest of the mechanism, that is extension, restitution, external rotation and lateral flexion, are like anterior vertex positions. There is a change in the engagement, descent and internal rotation, But after 3/8 of circle rotation of the occiput and 2/8 of circle rotation of the shoulders, the remaining mechanism is just like anterior position, what you find in the LOA or ROA. These we have discussed in detail in the normal labor, so I am not going here into detail again, but these sentence you cannot write in your exam. If you are asked occipito-posterior position, you have to explain all these remaining movements, how they take place and how the fetus rotates following these movements. That you have to explain. But here I consider that you have understood these movements in the normal labor, and here these movements are similar to what you find in normal labor, so I am not repeating. Okay, so look at this diagram, that is to refresh your memory about the normal labor. You can see the LOA position, occiput is facing the left iliopectineal eminence. So here occiput rotates through 1/8 of a circle to lie under the pubic arch. So occiput reaches under symphysis pubis after 1/8 of the circle rotation, right? And shoulders are, one shoulder is in the right anterior quadrant and the second shoulder is on the left posterior quadrant. This is similar to what you find in this diagram towards your right side. You will find the exactly same position, right? So now the further mechanism is just like in the LOA or ROA in the normal labor. Clear this thing? This we talked about what happens when the flexion is completed. Second possibility is the incomplete flexion. So with incomplete flexion, which you find in the 10% cases, some arrest occurs in the mechanism on the pelvic floor. So because of this arrest, the labor will not progress further. Different positions develop depending on degree of deflection of the head, uterine inertia and type of the pelvis. So arrest occurs, and because of the arrest, different positions are assumed by the fetal head. This depends on deflection of the head, uterine inertia and type of the pelvis. For example, deflection can be mild, moderate or extreme. When there is deflection of the head, it can be mild, it can be moderate or can be extreme. We see what happens in the mild deflection. There occurs rotation of the occiput through 1/8 of a circle anteriorly. Normally in the occipito-posterior position, we discussed in the complete flexion that there is 3/8 of the circle rotation. But here, instead of the 3/8 of circle rotation, there is internal rotation only through 1/8 of a circle, right? Sinciput also reaches the opposite segment of the pelvic floor. You can understand that when the occiput is in the right posterior quadrant, the sinciput is exactly opposite, that is in the left anterior quadrant, right? So here there is rotation of the occiput only through 1/8 of the circle instead of 3/8 of the circle. You can see these in the diagram. Occiput is in the right posterior quadrant. So instead of having 3/8 of a long circle rotation, there is only 1/8 of circle rotation. So you can see occiput after rotation towards your right lateral side, and the sinciput which was in the left anterior quadrant reaches to the left lateral side. You can see the fetal head becomes transverse, right? Now because of this what happens? Let's see. Both occiput and sinciput try to come under pubic arch from either side. Again look at this diagram. Occiput is towards the right lateral side, and sinciput is towards the left lateral side. So both are equally away from the symphysis pubis, right? So both have 50-50% chances to lie under pubic arch. So they both will try to rotate to lie under pubic arch, right? Because of this what happens? These causes arrest of the head in transverse diameter of the pelvis. When both occiput and sinciput try to rotate try to come under pubic arch, neither occiput rotates nor sinciput rotates. So there is arrest of the fetal head in the transverse diameter of the pelvis, and it is called deep transverse arrest, DTA, in the occipito-posterior position of the vertex. I hope you could understand deep transverse arrest through this diagram. Second possibility is mild deflection. So let's see what happens in the mild deflection. Both occiput and sinciput touch the pelvic floor at the same time in the oblique diameter of the pelvis, with occiput is in the posterior quadrant, right? When there is moderate deflection, both occiput and sinciput touch the pelvic floor simultaneously at the same time. Occiput is in the posterior quadrant, sinciput is in the anterior quadrant, opposite anterior quadrant. These results in non-rotation of the occiput. Have you ever thought why only occiput rotates, why not sinciput? We have discussed in the mechanism that there is 1/8 or 3/8 of circle rotation of the occiput. Occiput rotates because occiput touches pelvic floor first. What happens here? Both occiput and sinciput touch pelvic floor simultaneously. Both are at the equal level. Occiput rotates because occiput is at the lower level usually. That's why occiput touches pelvic floor first, and so it only rotates. It only comes under pubic arch. Right? Here both occiput and sinciput are at the same level. They both touch pelvic floor equally at the same time. So there is non-rotation of the occiput. Occiput cannot rotate. This is called oblique occipito-posterior arrest. When occiput cannot rotate, occiput remains in the right posterior quadrant only. Position of the occiput does not change. So that is the oblique occipito-posterior arrest, right? Because of the non-rotation of the occiput. And the third possibility is extreme deflection. Here sinciput touches pelvic floor first. That means sinciput is at the lower level than the occiput. So the sinciput touches pelvic floor first. This results in its anterior rotation by 1/8 of the circle to lie under the pubic arch. What happens here? Instead of having the rotation of the occiput, the sinciput rotates, and so because of the rotation of the sinciput lies in the pubic arch, and occiput totally goes towards the sacrum. Occiput faces the sacrum. I forgot to mention the included diagram, but I hope this sentence can make your understanding easy. Sinciput touches the pelvic floor first. This results in its anterior rotation by 1/8 of the circle to lie under pubic arch. So instead of the occiput, sinciput is near the pubic arch. So sinciput rotates to 1/8 of the circle, and so sinciput lies under pubic arch, and occiput goes totally after behind the sacrum. This puts occiput towards the sacrum. This is the persistent occipito-posterior or occipitosacral arrest. It is called persistent occipito-posterior, POP, or occipitosacral arrest. In POP, with small head and roomy gynecoid or anthropoid pelvis, spontaneous delivery can happen as phase 2 pubis. So in the POP position, even though it is arrest, if the head is small and the pelvis is gynecoid or anthropoid type, that is the usual female pelvis, adequate pelvis, spontaneous delivery is possible as phase 2 pubis. Here the head is pushed down, the root of the nose stems under the pubic arch, vertex and occiput are born by flexion, followed by birth of the face by occiput. This is the how the head is born. That was about the mechanism in the occipito-posterior position. I hope you could understand this session very well. We'll talk about management in the occipito-posterior position in the next session. Thank you.